Hey guys, CreamCrazy here, welcoming you to my WWE Payback 2014 predictions video. Now, last year this pay-per-view turned out to be quite good, but of course, this year we have a few little outside problems on our hands. First off, we have obviously got the problem where WWE lost money, a ton of money. The confidence in the brand isn't very good, there's a lot of negative media attention, and honestly, the lack of care on the product right now means people are disenfranchised while watching, and it's not a good thing. Hell, even me, I had problems going through Raw the past couple of weeks. Even the London one I had issues. However, there is one big thing which I have to address prior to this show. And that's, of course, the CM Punk rumors. We're in Chicago, of course. The crowd are going to be chanting his name all night. Remember this. The Chicago Blackhawks are currently in the NHL playoffs against, I believe it's the Los Angeles team. I don't know the exact name of their team, but all I know is they have a chance of going to the Stanley Cup Finals in the NHL. Do you think CM Punk is going to turn up to Payback, or watch his team hopefully go to the Stanley Cup Final? I know where his allegiances will be, in the bloody hockey team. Based on what his recent activity has been, he'll be right there for it. So, any rumor of CM Punk turning up is pretty much completely killed because of that. And I hope people understand that. So now we look at the pay-per-view itself. It could be good. I mean, I always say this, every pay-per-view has a chance to be great. And I say that all the time because I'm an optimist. Even when the build hasn't been that good, I always keep my head up high. And speaking of keeping my head up high, we're looking at the pre-show match, the kickoff, which is between El Torito and Hornswoggle in a mask versus hair match. Now, I was pleasantly surprised watching the pre-show at the last pay-per-view. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, 2 midgets on the pre-show? This is bullshit. Listen. The WLC was amazing. I mean, it wasn't 5-star amazing, but my god, it was entertaining as hell. I mean, it was better than some of the matches on the actual show. I mean, it was incredibly fun to watch, but tons of people crapped on it because it had 2 midgets in it. They're referencing back and harking back to the older times in pro wrestling in the early 1900s, where this would have been a main attraction, minus the weapons, of course, and the outside interference. But you kind of see what that is. It's a good hark back. I said it last time. And overall, it proved to be higher than my expectations could have ever been. It was fun as hell. This time, however, I don't see the same happening. Now, I understand that the stipulation adds a little bit of intrigue, but overall, it's just going to be a very simple match. It just, to me, won't be as fun because it was the spots that made that match hilariously fun. And seeing these midgets do that was amazing. But seeing them wrestle in a normal match, however, is a completely different situation. Now, El Torito is going to win this, there's no doubt about it. Unless the Matadors are split up, I don't see the point of him losing this match. And honestly, seeing a bald Hornswoggle will be kind of funny, seeing, well, one, Los Matadors and El Torito beating up 3MB, allowing for the hair shaving to happen in the middle of that ring. That's what can be seen in the past, people trying to avoid having their head shaved. I mean, technically, knowing how WWE pulled off the Kurt Angle version at Judgment Day 2002, who would think that they would inevitably have this head shaving angle happen throughout the entire show? How would you... That would be amazingly fun just to see if Hornswoggle loses. He'll just run around like mad, avoiding whoever comes to ensure that he gets to escape the head shaving, but inevitably it happens and it just becomes part of the show. I can imagine it happening, it'll be quite fun. So yeah, I'm going to go for El Torito winning here, there's just no doubt. Now on to the main card itself. It's Big E Langston, Big E, god damn it, versus Alexander Rusev. Oh, God's sake, these name removals. I can accept it on Cesaro, but seriously. Anyway, this is a good idea. Many of you are saying, what? Putting this on the match isn't on the pay-per-view? Is it going to be obvious who's going to win? Yes, but there is a good reason for it. Remember when Ryback was going slightly up the card in 2012, and we were all saying, oh come on, he needs to stop beating up jobbers and go against someone his own size. I said that countless times throughout 2012 and into 2013. I wanted Ryback to face a guy his size and see how well he does. And honestly, it was against Mark Henry at WrestleMania in a match that made Ryback look like utter shit. And that's the thing. It made me think, wow, Ryback really isn't as good as WWE were putting him out to be. And that's the important thing. If a guy Rusev's size can go against someone of equal size and stature and look good in the process, we know we've got something good on our hands. And that's the important thing. That's the important thing. I want to see Rusev against Big E Langston because it'll be a good test of his ability as an in-ring performer. And seeing Big E is faster and has more agility on his side, this will prove to be quite an interesting match. But the problem I have with it is it looks like it's going to be a slow, physical, lot of rest holds. I don't think it's going to be as entertaining as I think it's going to be. And I think a lot of the fans are going to spend a lot of their time, if they're on the TV side, just staring at Lana's ass. I'm not going to do it, because I'll be watching this match and analysing, but I bet the fans in attendance, especially with it's a rowdy Chicago crowd, will do anything to bring attention to her and themselves. So, yeah. Now, who's going to win this thing? Because Big E hasn't had the best of runs, and I keep saying to myself he needs a victory to kind of push him forward to a Money in the Bank ladder match to make himself look prominent for it, and he needs to look better if he's going in for future feuds down the line that would make him look even bigger as a possible main event player. But honestly, Rusev needs it more because it just keeps that mystique of his dominance. If Big E wins, Rusev will people just go, ha, I have no reason to care anymore because he's lost one match. And that's the problem with building up new stars like this. You need to have them win a ton. You need to have them win a ton so people actually have interest. Unfortunately, with a person like Rusev, it's more interest in Lana than it is in him, which is really annoying. But overall, I'm looking forward to this match. As long as the pacing is good, I'm not too fussed about it either way. But Rusev is going to win because it's just, again, as I always say in most videos, it makes sense. However, Big E winning wouldn't be that bad a thing either based on what he needs to keep himself going into the summer. Next, the Divas Championship match, Paige versus Alicia Fox. And my God, Alicia Fox has been entertaining as hell. I mean, some of you were saying, I never cared for Alicia Fox in the first place, so I don't care about this. Sorry. That's one quote from a certain tweet I read during Raw. The thing is, how can you not be entertained by this? This is a diva with personality. This is a diva who is making herself interesting. This is a diva who can technically make a storyline out of herself. That's amazing. I'm sure we all love Paige because she can wrestle, and I do. Not to mention the fact that she's from East Anglia, and that's even better for me. But, honestly, seeing Alicia Fox like this is incredibly entertaining television. Because she does it whether she wins or loses. It doesn't matter how the result goes, she'll lose her freaking mind, and I'm loving it. I mean, I've seen a Victoria crazy, I've seen a Mickie James crazy, I have seen an AJ Lee crazy, but this takes all three of those and just goes, holy fucking shit! I'm going to just try and upstage the lot of you. I mean, you've done crazy in minimalist ways. I've beaten up members of the bloody production team crazy. That's how far this has gone. And it's entertaining as hell. I'm annoyed in one regard that this has not been focused on Paige enough, but then that'll make her victory ever more the sweeter this Sunday. Honestly, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a victory for Paige on Sunday. Because seeing what happened last time, when it was just a quick roll-up to get the victory, it was a really cheap victory for Paige. And that made Alicia Fox look stronger going into this thing overall when she inevitably beat Paige at the London Raw. So, honestly, I look at this and think, these two divas are going to be at 2 matches apiece? Or is it going to be technically they're at 1 match apiece right now? If they're 1 match apiece right now, Paige has got this thing in the bag. And even though Alicia Fox is interesting, even though she is incredibly entertaining and is keeping my attention on a Divas match, which is something I cannot believe I'm even saying, I don't think she's ready to win it yet. Now, knowing the differences in personality types between the two, you've got a stern, orderly, British, because it is, wrestling talent who focuses on just the wrestling and nothing more, against the definition of what a diva, of what a complete bitch is. In American society and media, there is going to be a lot of personality and societal clashes between the two. And if this feud keeps going, That would be very intriguing to see. You know, I don't think this is going to be the end of the feud by a long shot, and I'm hoping it's fun. That's all I'm hoping for. This continues and at least is fun. Because I can see Alicia Fox cheating her way to a title victory somewhere down the line. Somewhere. I don't know where, but it could happen. Next, Sheamus versus Cesaro for the United States Championship. And we've got a doozy here, because it's going to be a physical brawl. And you can't wait to see that, can you? Now, obviously, Sheamus has a head injury, which means that's going to be the main focal point of the match, I'm hoping. And it'll be a very physical and intense match. Now, knowing how faces go, I can really see Sheamus fighting his way through and winning anyway in spite of his medical problems, which could probably lead to him losing the US title from the result of those injuries the next night on Raw. That's one way we can look at it. But Cesaro is over with the crowd in a Paul Heyman sense, as well as his own wrestling abilities sense. And even though people believe this is a step back, the psychology of this match is too much in his favour to make me think he's going to lose. Now, a lot of people are saying putting the US title on him is the worst thing because it's a step backwards. I would rather see a Cesaro versus a Barrett for the unification of those two titles than a Sheamus versus Barrett like we've seen countless times. You know, it would be more interesting to see. It really would be, because it's Britain versus Ireland rivalry thing, just, God, I don't want to see any more of it. Swiss versus Brit, though. Interesting. Not to mention the political ramifications that Switzerland, as a political unity in Europe, is just there as saying, you know what, we're going to do what we want, and the rest of Europe can just do whatever it wants to do in the EU. Britain wants to try and get out of that, and just think, hey, I want to just be me. And therefore, these two politically just can go, okay, what the fuck are you want to do this for? We've done this since we've bloody been formed in this thing. And politically, it could make for an intriguing matchup. But that's not really interesting to any of you, I am certain. So yeah, I'm looking at this and saying, Cesaro gets the win just to make himself look better, look more powerful, make him look stronger, going forward to Money in the Bank, where he is certainly going to be a favourite. And honestly, going through to SummerSlam when inevitably something happens. I don't know what that will be. Probably a unification match. Maybe a cash-in. I have no clue. Maybe he could have a cash-in and hold 3 belts at once. Ooh! And then maybe Cesaro goes on and wins more belts, making himself to be the almighty king of swing. Not just a name, but the fact that he has all the fucking belts. If they want to make the guy look strong as hell, that would be an interesting way of doing it. But if I were WWE, just... Sheamus looks like a transitional champion, and that head injury plays right into its lap. So, go for it. Go for it. Make Cesaro US champion for the second time, and it won't be a problem for me. Speaking of Bad News Barrett, though, he's up against Rob Van Dam for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, I've already explained there's a personality clash between Paige and Alicia, and we have a similar notion of physical style between Sheamus and Cesaro. We've got difference in style here, which is good to see. Good to see, because we've got a high-flying light heavyweight versus a brawling heavyweight. And this is going to be entertaining, because obviously, as I mentioned before, sometimes the opposites do attract, and we get some entertaining matches. And I'm hoping this is one of them, because RVD has proven in the ring he's still got it. And Bad News Barrett, well, he's Bad News Barrett. We can mostly say his in-ring ability is solid at best. And I can mostly see this being quite an even, but slightly lopsided contest in momentum. I can see an easy trade-off that Van Dam gets offense, Barrett gets offense, and just goes back and forth repeatedly throughout the match, you know, as these guys are kind of even in their abilities. But I can see an interesting finish here. I don't know why. I'm not making a prediction straight out this is what's going to be the finish, but the one thing I'm hoping is they can play on the idea that the bullhammer can be hit from any direction. Whether it's from a Rolling Thunder or a 5-star Frog Splash, hit that fucking bullhammer for a classy finish. Now, this won't be as interesting as the Sheamus Cesaro matches, and the fact that those two will beat the holy living hell out of each other after the showing of respect debacle. In the case of Wade Barrett, he's just going to steamroll through an RVD and showing his dominance after winning the title at the pay-per-view prior. You know, I don't see any reason for Van Dam to win, and Barrett will do just that. He'll just demolish through and win. It makes sense, it's simple, and RVD will probably be in the Money in the Bank anyway, but Barrett needs to look strong going into that. So losing to RVD would make no sense. Maybe having him slag off Chicago. Maybe having him enter a CM Punk, which many people were predicting will happen, and I predicted would happen at a WrestleMania or wherever it will be. I want to see it happen, and I'm hoping it does, because that would be the best. Not to mention, it would make the heat on Barrett even bigger, going up against RVD in the match itself. So they could make this interesting and turn the crowd completely against Barrett entirely, which would be brilliant. But honestly, do I see that happening? No, not really. WWE wouldn't do that. Because Chicago, they don't want a riot on their hands while also having an NHL game going on. So for me, Barrett's just a clear winner, but I'm just hoping he utilises that bullhammer in a way that is not running or jumping or whatever it is. Maybe even while lying down, as one of the 5-star frog splashes coming in, whack RVD in the face. Pretty cool, wouldn't it? Right. Now we get on to the match that everybody is worried about. Everybody is crapping and pissing themselves over because they're worried that John Cena versus Bray Wyatt for the last man standing match will go the way of John Cena. Now, a lot of people are just being assholes and idiots, because this storyline, if it's going to make sense, will highlight a Bray Wyatt victory. Now, I know a lot of people are worried, because they think, oh, well, John Cena has to win because he just looks strong. Honestly, though, Bray Wyatt is the guy with all the marbles. He's the guy with the world in his hands. He doesn't lose momentum even in defeat, but after what happened at WrestleMania, people said he just lost it for them. And winning against Cena here will be the great way to put him forward for Money in the Bank. Make him look threatening going through to a possible title push in the future. They would need him to get the victory over Cena because it would matter, no matter how clean or dirty it turns out to be. But the one thing that I've always said going into these matches is that Bray has the psychological edge. He can make Cena wallow in himself. And that's the one thing that makes him different from other opponents facing John Cena. That Bray Wyatt can make Cena a wreck. He can make him a wreck. And that's the one thing that in this match makes it even more interesting. Because he could put one of those kids in danger. He could beat up the Usos, the rest of the Wyatt family. He could attack the commentators in the match. Because it's no DQ, he can do what the fuck he wants. But honestly, the one thing I know is that this match, I hope, turns into anarchy, chaos, backstage area brawling, and does things that isn't orderly, because I know last man standing matches are orderly affairs, usually. I'm hoping this isn't the case, because these matches are usually quite fun when you give more shit to them. I mean, hell, the Daniel Bryan Kane match from the last pay-per-view, when it went backstage, accented itself and allowed for a lot more to be done to accentuate the hatred between the two. If Cena and Wyatt can do it, that's all well and good, but the one thing that will be beneficial in that way is the Usos and the Wyatts. I was hoping we'd see Harper and Rowan versus the Usos for the tag belts, but that's probably going to happen at Money in the Bank, knowing how this will go. And honestly, when you've got a last man standing match with equal numbers either side of the main two competitors, this is an easy way of just turning into craziness all the while. You know, an easy way to make this match look unpredictable as hell and you won't know where the finish is going to come from. Have these two teams and the individuals in the match completely go at it. Beat the crap out of each other, making this completely unbelievable, and you won't be able to see where the end goes. Hell, I'd like to see Bray Wyatt do this. Do an Alberto Del Rio at Vengeance 2011. Where he used everything. The Raw interviews, the Raw backstage interview sets, the stage, weaponry, the ring itself. He used every single thing. Hell, even interference. He used everything in his power and everything that was possible to put John Cena down. And this will be great psychology because he will say, look, you may have belief in yourself, John, but I have everything at my disposal. You're going to just be the clean, happy-go-lucky guy who, of course, will resort to violence when needed, but the world's in my hands. Everything around me is usable. You are outnumbered, not just in my presence, but the people in the crowd are against you. The world is not going your way. And even though, after winning one match, and believing you're confident enough to then losing a match and then having to rebuild yourself up to be the strong guy you are now, I have you. I have everything. And I can win by whipping you in every single and any single way possible. Now, the cage match restricted that ideology a lot, because it relied on the members of his own family to do it. In this case, it may boil down to one weapon shot, or one usage of equipment, or any form of a finisher through one of them, or whatever it turns out to be. But this match needs to have a conclusive end. Now, I can understand people are thinking the numbers game will make the Wyatt family and Bray Wyatt win this match, but it will, if the Usos are beating them up, it'll turn into a one-on-one, who can gain the advantage first scenario, and I can easily see Bray Wyatt winning. I know people are saying, Fred, you're stupid because John Cena has to look strong all the time. No, he doesn't. This feud is the epitome that no one like a Bray Wyatt has come along and made Cena this weak in the build-up before. Seriously, Cena was a complete wreck in build-up to 2 consecutive pay-per-views. This time, he looks stronger because he knows what he has to go up against and feels like he knows how to get under their skin, he knows what to do to get in their heads and then use himself forward thusly. I can understand it, but I look at it and say to myself, Bray Wyatt just has more on that side. And I look at the story and think, Bray's got this. Bray's got it. Bray's got the victory and the world in his hands. He's going to do it. And I understand if John Cena does win, there has to be a reason behind it. But if it does happen, I'll have to figure it out myself. But in the relationship to this, Bray Wyatt's got to win. There's no doubt. Bray has to win this match. Enough said. Before I go on to the main event, I want to talk about the Daniel Bryan, Brie Bella, Stephanie McMahon World Heavyweight Championship scenario, of course. Now, this is even simpler. It used to be just hand over the titles, nothing more. Now, if he doesn't hand the titles over, Brie is going to get fired. Now, I honestly think that Daniel Bryan is going to hand over the titles, but I can see why he wouldn't. For 2 reasons. One for an off-screen reason and one for an on-screen reason. Off-screen reason being, if he doesn't hand over those titles, Brie is fired, and it makes an interesting Total Divas segment and storyline for anyone who follows that show. That's not me, but other people do, so they might find that interesting. Then, of course, if he doesn't hand it over, he could also be put into a match, meaning he loses the title right there, as people have predicted. Or, he just gives it up and realizing, you know what, I know what I believe in, I know what I stand up for, but I don't want to get injured more. I don't want there to be any more stress on my family. I don't want these fans to want to see my career end if this gets even worse. So, I've got to hand over the titles. And it's one of those 2 things. It's either he's going to lose the titles either way, and we haven't got much of a say in the matter. Like, Daniel Bryan, even with however good his health is in recovery from this injury, I just don't think he's going to be holding on to the titles by the end of the night. That's just me saying that. Finally, the main event. The match we were all looking forward to, and the reason people have been watching Raw recently. Evolution vs. The Shield 2 in a no-holds-barred elimination matchup. Now, the one thing I'm hoping is this match descends into utter chaos before this match even begins. These 2 teams hate each other. They have been beating each other up and using tactics all the while to ensure who is the more dominant guy. Team and guy, I should say. But in this case, last time round, they had a slow burn of a match that turned wonderful because of the fact that they went outside and just did all kinds of crazy crap. From running across the announce tables, to using weaponry, to going into the crowd, to jumping off the bloody barricades. The honest idea is, what are they going to do to make this match better than last time? And if they start off going into chaos, using weaponry and every single thing they can to beat the crap out of each other, then that'll do the job nicely. More specifically, imagine this, that Triple H just thinks, you know what, I'm going to keep these guys apart from me. I'm going to put a big line of security on one side of the building where the Shield are, and then put that line of security guarding us, so no one could come in and attack us. And you know what, when the match comes around, the Shield just go in there, bust out the security with whatever they can find, and use their strength and such, and then go on and take out Evolution backstage, leading to a huge backstage brawl before the match even gets into the ring. Because it's a no-holds-barred match, it definitely plays into its idea. And that's what will make this match interesting. If it starts off with a brawl and ends with a final flourish, that is a slow burner in the opposite sense, where it goes from aggressive and incredibly intense and quick, all the way down to this slow, methodical, who will win scenario, and just build the drama up profusely, it'll make for a much more entertaining match, and I want to see it. Good God, I do. But honestly, this all plays out in who is going to win, because people are saying that, oh, Batista's leaving, meaning Batista needs to look strong. Look, the last match proved itself true. Evolution looked strong coming out of that pay-per-view, even in defeat. They lost, but they looked amazing coming out of it. Why? Because they screwed Dean Ambrose out of the title and beat them up on that show. That shows Evolution doing what they do best. When Triple H lost a match, they knew how to fight back and make themselves look good again. That's what Evolution have done for years. And as a group, they did it again last time. But the one thing I can see, if Batista's leaving, he loses this match, but isn't the one pinned. But he's still on the losing side, right? He still gets pinned anyway because it's an elimination match. So how can that work? Well, let's just say, for example, that this is a very taxing match on the human body. One of them doesn't turn out well at the end. So why don't we see this? Say for example, Dean Ambrose or Seth Rollins. One of the two gets beaten up by Batista and put on the shelf. So while he's gone, it's 2 members of the Shield versus 2 members of Evolution going forward. And we have a Triple H versus a Roman Reigns and a Randy Orton versus a Dean Ambrose going forward until SummerSlam, or whenever you want to see it, where the blow-off of this entire bloody feud ends. Because, of course, in Los Angeles, Batista will be able to come back and probably insert himself again. I mean, this is a good thing. You know, the Shield looked really strong after losing to the Wyatts. Evolution looked strong losing to the Shield. Whatever happens, whoever loses in this match will look strong coming out of it either way. Because technically the Shield could lose and then beat up Batista to send him packing. You see, it works either way. This match could easily have a victory stamp all over it for both teams. But only one can win. And knowing where this feud could go, it's going to have a massive blow-off somewhere. But that obviously means, to me, Evolution look likely to win this. Because after just realizing that Batista could easily get beaten up by the Shield and put on the shelf himself, leading to sledgehammer retribution from Triple H onto another member of the Shield to take them out, like I've already mentioned, we could easily see the Evolution winning to enable that to happen. And that sounds amazing. Now, I know people are saying the Shield have to win because they're strong, they're young, yada yada yada. All's well and good. But if I was looking at the feud dynamic of where this is going to go, where you have 2 singles matches in the future, and whether it be at Money in the Bank or SummerSlam, or whether screwings happen at Money in the Bank, leading to a SummerSlam match one more time to really build up to how big this final rubber match is going to be, I would rather see Evolution win. I know the Shield, people want them to win because they're everybody's favourite, and they're probably mine at the moment outside of a Daniel Bryan and a Cesaro, but honestly, I said it last time that Evolution would win to enable the resurgence in the face town of Chicago to happen. The problem I also have, though, is where I've predicted matches so far. You have a heel win in Rusev, a face win in Paige, a heel tweener win in Cesaro, a heel win in Barrett, a heel win in Wyatt. Now, that's a problem, because the Shield therefore would need to win if my predictions turn out right, which would then mean Cena could win if Evolution wins, or maybe you have the Shield and John Cena win. I don't honestly know. But all I can say is my prediction will stand. I know I went completely wrong in predicting Evolution would win last time, but honestly, it just, to me, makes sense this time round. More sense than prior. Evolution winning here would be great, but because this is going to be the main event, because this is going to send the fans home happy unless we see an appearance by CM Punk, which is not going to happen, mark my fucking words. It's going to be the Shield winning. I can honestly say it. The Shield are going to win, and that's all I'm going to say about that. And guys, that is my predictions done. I hope you've enjoyed this. And what are your views on the pay-per-view? What are your predictions? Send your views down there in the comment section. And of course, if you like what you've heard, give me a like. And if you want to see the pay-per-view review on Monday, fresh in your inbox, click that subscribe button, because that will mean a ton of good things. And I really would appreciate your support. And if you want to hear of anything that goes on in my videos or anything that happens in my life that could impact anything that happens, go to my Twitter handle at CreamCrazy and follow me, because I would appreciate the support. And guys, I have been CreamCrazy. You have been people listening. This has been my Payback 2014 predictions video. And I will see you on Monday for my review. And I hope the pay-per-view is all well and good, because we all want a little pick-me-up. And I'm hoping WWE realizes their main product can and probably has a chance to beat NXT if they book it right. Cheers, guys. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next time.